Hello everyone, Nobuki Takamen here. Today, I would like to talk about octave displacement. Octave displacement is a very useful technique, especially for improvisation, because with the same notes of your phrase, it sounds a little different by just simply displacing in a note or two. Like for instance, if you have a phrase like this, you can displace the last note and then sounds a little different. In the beginning, I actually played the chromatic scale, but with some octave displacement, and it sounds a little different from just simply playing chromatic scale like this. Because, you can make your phrase sounds a little different from, how it usually sounds by simply displacing a note or two. This video is actually a continuation of my previous video about using the melody for improvisation. I actually explained approach note, passing tone, and neighbor tone in that video. So if you haven't checked that video, I'll include a link to that video in the descriptions below. So please check the video before you watch this one. This video is good for someone who is interested in jazz improvisation, but this one is also good for someone who hasn't memorized all the notes on the fingerboard. By learning octave displacement, which enables you to move a note into a different part of the fingerboard, you will get more clear idea of how all the notes are kind of laid out on the fingerboard. Now let's get started. I'll walk you through octave technique by using the first 16 measures of Autumn Leaves as an example. But you are more than welcome to use your favorite song when you practice. Okay? So the first 16 measures go like this. Then repeat that. That's the melody. Now, by using the octave technique, you can actually, improvise using simply the notes from the melody. Something like this. Okay, really simple, but somewhat it sounds different because when you play the same melody in a different octave, that gives you a different kind of feel. So being able to do octave displacement, anytime you'd like to do, you get actually kind of a different kind of phrase by using the same notes. That is actually a really cool part of using octave displacement because you don't have to learn any scales or chords. All you have to do is to know how to do octave displacement. Now, I'll show you 3 simple techniques for octave displacement. The first one is very simple. When you have a note on the 6th string, for instance, like C on the 8th fret at the 6th string, you can always get the same note on the 1st string, but this note sounds 2 octaves higher. The second one is what I call diagonal octave. Diagonal octave is using the 2 sets of octaves in a diagonal fashion. So let's use this one too. Now when you have this C, the C that is 1 octave higher from this one, you can always find that note by going up 2 strings and 2 over. So this shape will give you 2 notes that are 1 octave apart. You can use this one on any part of the fingerboard, so as long as you stay on the same string. Like this. And when you move up to the 5th string, this shape remains the same. So 2 strings up and 2 over, 2 frets over, okay? Now, when you move up to the 4th string to play C, the shape actually will be a little different. So you move up 2 strings and 3 frets over. And this is the shape, okay? And when you move up to the 3rd string, this shape remains the same, so you still have 2 strings up and 3 frets over. Okay? And what I meant by diagonal octave is just use this octave shape on the 6th string and the 4th string. And fourth string and the second string. So knowing these notes enables you to move and find the same notes in a kind of diagonal fashion. Okay, so once again, C, C, C. Now when you move down to the C on the fifth string, the third fret at the fifth string, you move up 2 strings and 2 frets. And then now you have 2 strings up and then 3 frets up like this. Okay, so again, you can move your hand in a position in a diagonal fashion, and then you get C and C and C. So practice, doing something like, okay, so pick G, and then play the same note in a diagonal fashion, and also try G on the fifth string. Okay? And one cool thing is actually to combine diagonal octave and first string and then the sixth string technique. So if I'm to play C, this is my first diagonal shape, and I know that this C is the same as the first string because those are 2 E strings. Okay, and now this one will give you these 2 notes. This is actually kind of going the other way, but still diagonal shape. So depending on where you're on the fingerboard, you can kind of combine these 2 diagonal octave by using the connection between first and sixth string. The third one is what I called octave triangle. This one is actually the combination of octave technique and relative tuning. The relative tuning is when you tune the guitar, you actually press down the 5th fret on the 6th string to play, to tune the open 5th string, or like vice versa, right? So 5 open, you will get always the same notes. So when you go up to the 6th fret on the 6th string, the other note goes up to the 1st fret, and then it goes up to 7, and then the other note goes up to 2. So in other words, when you have a note on the 6th string, or like the lower side, you go up to the next string and move down 5 frets, and then you will also play the same note. So like 8th fret, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These are the same notes. So by doing the octave technique from C to the C on the 4th string, this one right here can be played on the 3rd string by going up to the next string and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this note on the 10th fret at the 4th string and the 3rd fret at the 3rd string, 5th fret at the 3rd string are the same thing. So by going from here to here, and then you know that these are 2 same notes. So these dots kind of make the triangular shape. Okay? When you move up to the 5th string, the C is on the 3rd fret at the 5th string. Now, this is the other note from the octave technique. But now, this is when you have to be careful, because when you tune the guitar, this is when you use the 4th fret instead of using the 5th fret. So, when you are on the 3rd string, you move up to the 2nd string and you go down 4 frets. That's the only time you go down 4 frets. In other words, all the other ones are you always move up to the next fret, next string, and then 2, 3, 4, 5. These are 2 Fs, and you can always get same note. But when you're on the 3rd string, so 1, 2, 3, 4 frets down, you get actually the same note. So the triangular shape now looks like this. Alright, now when you play C on the 4th string, okay, this is from the octave technique, and then now the shape for the octave technique is a little different because of the tuning. Okay, and this one is the C, and you move up to the 1st string, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frets down. So you get these notes that make different kind of triangular shape again. But so once again, that's 1, that's 2, that's 3. So So there are the three different shapes, but they always look like kind of like a triangular shape. Now, let's get back to playing the first 16 measures of Autumn Leaves. Okay? So when you're playing the melody, force yourself to be able to see the notes that are octave apart by using three techniques that I showed you in this video. So now, I have 4 notes in this first part of the melody. So here, I have access to these notes, and also this is from diagonal octave, right? And then this is from octave triangle. This one also gives you the octave triangle. Okay? Now next one, you can do the same thing. Okay? And this one. So all those notes are available when you improvise. So instead of actually starting from here, you can do that. I was actually using, octave triangle to move this note up to the first string, and then I know this note is actually the 4th note of the melody, so I picked the E flat, I think down here. But you can also pick the E flat down here too if you want, and then you can do that for all the other parts of the melody. So now becomes, this is actually me using the octave technique, and then now this octave technique will give you octave triangle. So, my bad, one more time. So all those notes are available when you improvise. And then, let's move on. Or I could do, oh, this is actually too low, because you cannot play E flat on the 6th string, but next one you can do it. And then, it can be played. And then since this note is actually on the 1st string, so you can play it down here too, so you can do something like that. So that's how you can play all the notes of the melody in a different part of the fingerboard. When you improvise, you can use those notes as your choice of note. So, it keeps going, but that's actually the first half of the Autumn Leaves. So there are a lot of things that you can do with octave displacement. So please mess around with it and find something that you like. I'll show you one more thing that I think it's really useful. Octave displacement is not only the technique for doing the single lines, but also doing it for like a double stop or chords. In other words, if you have something like this, you can move one of the notes of double stop that I'm playing octave higher or octave lower so that you can come up with something different. So now it sounds different when you actually play C on the 1 octave lower. Well, you can also do it sounds a little different from by simply moving the one of the notes octave higher or lower. Now you can also do octave displacement to come up with different voicings. Okay, so in the Autumn Leaves we have B flat major 7 chord. So let's play B flat major 7 in this position. Oh, by the way, I have a video about 8 essential jazz chords. So if you haven't checked that video, please check it from the link in the descriptions below. Okay, So now I have my B flat major 7 here, first fret on the 5th string, third fret at the 5th fourth string, and the second fret at the 3rd string, and third fret at the 2nd string. Now if I displace one of the notes from this voicing, like say this F, I see, you know, octave triangle. So if I move it up here, this turns into B flat major 7 chord with drop 3 voicing. Oh, by the way, the first one is called drop 2 voicing. Okay, we won't get into, you know, why it's called drop 2 or drop 3, but it's just a different voicing. Okay. Now, if you move actually F, that we are playing on the 1st string, down on the 6th string, because these two notes are always the same, but 2 octaves apart. So now this turns into B flat major 7 chord with drop 2 and 4 voicings. And when you go back to the previous one, which is the drop 2 voicing, and if you move the D down on the 4th string, that is the open string, right? B flat major 7 chord with drop 2 and 3 voicing. Okay? You can also do this with like simple chords, like for instance when you play D chord, open D chord. You know, I know that F sharp is on the 1st string, so why don't you play F sharp on the 6th string? Or I know this is my C chord and I have C, G on the 3rd fret on the 1st string, so I can move it down to 6th string, and then it sounds a little different. It's a little bit more deeper because you have more notes on the bottom side. Okay? One of the cool exercises that you can do is to work on octave displacement using songs that you have already played, or like a guitar part that you have already, you know, learned. So if you have something like this, I'm sure many of you, you know, have played this type of kind of like a, you know, rock and blues, you know, riff. So why don't you play, you know, G on the 6th string instead of playing like this. Now this turns into, right? And I know that these notes can be played you know, on a different part of the fingerboard, and I move actually all the notes on the 4th string up to the 1st string, and now it sounds like, you know, the same riff, but it sounds, you know, a little different because you're playing in a higher register. Okay, you can do this too. Okay, although this one sounds too low to do because of the register, but you know, you can learn those types of things by doing octave displacement, because when you play one thing in the different part of the fingerboard or like a different register, it sounds different, and also it functions differently, you know, musically speaking. So I'm sure that you will discover something new by octave displacement. That's it for this video showing octave displacement. As always, if you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment below or feel free to email me. I hope this helps. See you next time.